Hey, welcome back everybody. I'm Vince Mancuso and today we're going to talk about proportions. Now, proportions are absolutely critical to understand how to create them and how to think about them. Okay? Um, in the case of the human body, for example, if you understand the proportions, more importantly than knowing how to draw all the details of the anatomy, you'll be able to draw figures in any position that you can imagine, and they will always look like figures. Okay, humanoid figures. Now, when you're trying to figure out the proportions of any object, right, you need to take a part of that object. Like in the case of a car, you would grab a wheel, and that wheel becomes your unit of measure to establish where all the other key components of the vehicle are. All right? Well, the same thing is true with the human body. You take the head, and you use the head as a unit of measure, and you establish, for example, as we can see here, that in two heads you establish where the nipples are, in three you establish the belly button, in the four you establish the crotch, six is the base of the knee, and eight is at the feet. Okay. Now I like using an eight head proportion because one, it's keep it simple, right? It's easy to remember. It divides in half, and the crotch becomes the halfway point. Right? The other thing is it gives me a slightly stylized figure, which I prefer, right? Rather than something that looks more natural or realistic. I like something that looks a little bit more romantic. Then when I start to practice this in rotating the figure, right, I establish the proportions, right, to the three-quarter view and the profile and the back, and then the other three-quarter and profile, so that I start to become familiar with these proportions, right? They start becoming just a reflex action. Then when I go to draw an idea, like or if I'm working on a storyboard and I need to draw a particular situation, I can imagine these figures almost like manikin dolls, and I can start to move them around and place them in the scene that I'm composing accurately and correctly. Right? Through repetition, this will become second nature. So this is an exercise, a training exercise that you need to practice. You need to understand. You need to master it. Right? If you do, you'll be able to draw accurate human figures correctly from your imagination. No problem. Right? Now the key thing to understand here, right, is that by getting the proportions correctly, it will look believable, even if you use abstract forms. All right? I'm giving these particular drawings some anatomical characteristics so that you can feel, but they're very abstract, they're very simple, they're very graphic, right? I'm not going into great detail, right, in terms of the anatomical parts, right? I'm making you believe simplistically and graphically that you're looking at a human figure. Practice this, memorize this, and you'll be able to draw human beings from your imagination correctly. Only through repetition will you get better. Only through repetition will it become an automatic reflex when you draw. See you next time.